we've got the top 4 round of the Fukuoka Championships here, the one-piece trading card game OP06. After a thrilling top 8 of Perona and Katakuri, you should go check out that video if you haven't already. We now have the top 4 round. Here's the meta spread of the top 4. We obviously saw Perona advance in this one, but Sakazuki with 3 left, taking up 3 of the 4 spots in top 4 after being 6 in the top 16. Those Sakazukis have really outlasted and emerged into the top 4. This is definitely the Sakazuki dominance that we saw in OP05, just positioned really good right now after Yamato won the first 2 OP06 major tournaments. So we'll see exactly how this goes. I'm going to try to skip ahead for you all in here, but if I had to take a guess, yeah, it's going to be the Perona player versus Sakazuki, and it looks like Perona is going first again. So we saw Perona go first in the last game, and it worked out for him. A little scary, but it worked out for him. But we'll see how Perona does. Now, this game is going to be all about board control. Both players being half black leaders, they're really going to emphasize the control aspect of the board. So in my opinion, in terms of a matchup, it's going to be whoever does that best, whoever sees their control cards the best. And I think, in my opinion, Sakazuki has a little bit of the advantage having the built-in draw with that leader effect. So we'll see how it goes with our Perona and the Shanks Dawn sleeves. Absolutely love those. And so here we get a look at Sakazuki's hand. 2 Hinas, a brand new Tashigi, and a Kuzan. So not a terrible hand to keep because you do have 2 searchers for your first 2 turns of the game, really. And then Perona here with a Virgo, Suru, Moria, X-Drake, and Rosinante. So the X-Drake we didn't see in the last match could have some play here in this one. But overall, I don't think either player opted to mulligan, so both players really feeling like it was a good hand on that. So that X-Drake can be really good in combination with the Perona leader, because the X-Drake says on play KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 4 or less. So pretty good setup, I feel like, at times for this deck. And so now in the 2 Dawn turn moment for Sakazuki, gonna trash one of those Hinas and draw a Sabo, play that brand new, find some navy pieces. So you've got a Suru there, I think, a Tashigi and a Kuzan, and the back of his hand is definitely what that is. But it looks like that might be Ice Age. That might actually be Ice Age, I think. Anyways, going into the next one, we don't have all the alternate arts that they do in Japan, but in the 3 Dawn turn, going to be thinking about what they want to do. Don't really have a play aside from like attaching all of it onto the character. So KOing that brand new after resting it. Oh, dropping 2 Dawn and putting down that Rosinante there. So they left 1 Dawn open. I'm not 100% sure why, but looks like maybe faking out a 1 cost counter potentially out of that. And so Sakazuki now in 4 Dawn turn going to be resting or getting rid of that Hina in hand, discarding it off of leader effect and swinging 5 into the leader. So just going to be taking that now at 3 life, getting a Gecko Moria at this point, and now resting all 4 Dawn to put a Kuzan down. Get that Kuzan down, and then passing the turn off to Perona. So now it's going to be Perona's job to get that guy off the board as it was before. So now at 5 Dawn, they've got a couple opportunities to do that. I think they can do a Perona rest and then X-Drake pop. And so going to be swinging. If this is at Kuzan or life, this could be very telling. And they're just going to swing at Kuzan. So just getting rid of that body and then opting to play a Sabo blocker to get a second blocker on board. This is a very interesting spot for the Perona player, definitely with that swing at the Kuzan, there was one of two options that could have happened. Either one that we just saw, that they let that Kuzan go and then played the blocker, or I think what would have happened if they saved the Kuzan and kept it alive, then they would have popped it with the X-Drake. That's the two scenarios that I think would have happened. But going off of that, the Sabo discarding the Rosinante blocker and the one about justice disappearing, the 0 cost 3,000 power card that has way too long of a name, and they go into the 6th Dawn turn for Sakazuki. Yeah, gotta get your Dawn, buddy. Definitely want that in this match. So trashing the Rebecca off of leader effect and grabbing another Hina. So that's the third starter deck Hina that we've seen so far in this game, and got 6 Dawn to play around with. I'm trying to think. They've got Ice Age in there, although they don't have a good thing in combination with Ice Age to be able to use. So there's a couple different options. They'll first start out with swinging 6 at leader, probably minusing the Sabo, if I had to take a guess. So really thinking about what they want to do, and they were swinging at life, and they're just going to take it. Going down to 2 life, another Rosinante in their hand, and going to be playing down that Sabo to be able to protect itself in a sense, and now opting to choose 2 cards to trash. They have a Borsalino and a Great Eruption in hand. Going to be trashing the Borsalino and the Hina, it looks like. So 3 Hinas in the bin. Don't need those in the hand, only need those for the Rebecca's. But they trashed the Rebecca as well. They have 1 more left in hand. So top decking into a Sabo for their 7 Dawn turn. The Perona now goes in. Interesting to see exactly what they might want to do. They do need to lower the cost in order to rest the Sabo, I believe. So going to be swinging into what I assume is leader. Probably, well, actually, they don't have to use Perona's effect right away, but going to be swinging now with the Sabo. So they've got another blocker on field, so I think they feel pretty good about leaving the Sabo available. And so just going to be blocking and countering out of that with that Sabo right there. So they've got 4 Dawn pushed off to the side. What 4 Dawn could that be for? And so they're going to rest 2 to play another Rosinante down. That blocker very, very strong. And then going to be playing that Sabo themselves. So the Sabos facing each other and seeing what they can do. Going to be drawing 2 cards, and I think immediately pitching both of them. Going to be, I think that's a Ryuma and a Gecko Moria. So going into Sakazuki's now, what is it, 8 Dawn turn? They found their 4th Hina, the 4th one. Not something you see every day. So they've got the big Borsalino kick in their hand, 7-drop Borsalino that they could play this turn, get rid of a character, although bottom decking 1 character I don't think really feels good if you're Sakazuki, because that would be all you're done. Going to be swinging at the rested Sabo and then minusing 1, I believe, the active Sabo in here. Just trying to get rid of as many bodies as possible, and then the was blocked by the Rosinante that was put down, one of the 2. And so Sakazuki now has to really think about what they want to do at this point. They do have a Rob Lucci in hand that they could combo with the Ice Age that they've got. So drawing 1 off of leader effect, finding Houndblaze. Houndblaze a really, really good card at this point. So we'll see if they've got enough Dawn to do what they want to do. So going to be resting, they're going to be opting to rest all the Dawn to bottom deck the Borsalino, or I'm sorry, the Sabo, the active Sabo right there, and going to be swinging Sabo now at Sabo on Sabo violence, going to be prompting either a counter or KO, and it looks like they're going to be countering out with that X-Drake. So what I thought was keeping the X-Drake being a good idea, turns out they don't do that, and so now they go into the Perona turn with the 9 Dawn, We'll see exactly how they go. What did they top deck? I think they top decked a Borsalino blocker. And so now at 9 Dawn, you could start to see the Gecko Moria being played. And so, really, man, this tournament, I will say, people have been swinging with blockers like crazy in this tournament. It's very, very interesting to see that because I feel like, at least at my locals and stuff in Las Vegas, like, I don't see that at all. Or at least definitely not as often. So it's very interesting to see how OP06 has kind of prompted this game plan. So going to be triggering the Ice Age and getting rid of the Rosinante off of that life. Both leaders at 2 apiece now. 6 swinging at leader. Going to be pushing the Sakazuki to 1 and getting a Rob Lucci off that life. And now going to be resting those 8 Dawn to grab the 8-drop 9,000 power Gecko Moria. So you get to grab a 4 cost or less and a 2 cost or less, and then choosing one or the other between active and rest. So choosing to rest the Ryuma and active the Rosinante. The Rosinante makes a lot of sense in terms of leaving active because it is a pesky blocker, while the Ryuma, it's just a strong body if it lives, but if it gets KO'd, it can absolutely destroy a rested character with the cost of 4 or less. So not really something that's on the field right now, but it could be a body that they focus on and target, and if it lives, could just be a really strong attacker. So I really like seeing this. As the Perona player, they're going to be using Houndblaze here on this turn, and I think the Sakazuki player should be at 10 Dawn. I don't know if they've put out their Dawn yet, but I think they should be at 10 Dawn. I think probably putting the Houndblaze after bottom decking that Rosinante on, I would think Sakazuki, the leader, but swinging with a Borsalino first at the Sabo. It's going to be an 8K swing with Borsalino into the 6K Sabo, so going to have to counter out of it with 2 bodies no matter what, but they have a bunch of counter power in hand. So we'll see exactly where they decide to go. Unfortunately, they might need to commit 2K counters, but they could Borsalino out of it. So they could, depending on where the Houndblaze went. If it went on the Sakazuki, then they could just go like Virgo, Borsalino, and I think that's what is going to happen here. But if the Houndblaze was on the Borsalino, then you would have to commit almost everything to that. But it looks like that it was just an 8K swing, going to be blocking out of it with 9K power, negating the efforts, and there we go. There's the 10 Dawn. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure this guy's on 10 Dawn. We've all been there. We've all been there in a tournament where we've played, like 10 rounds in a single day or whatever, and 16 rounds in 2 days, and our brains mush at the very end. We've all been there. And so thinking about what he wants to do now at this point, I think really deciding if he wants to do stuff like Great Eruption or Ice Age to be able to get rid of characters, but going to be swinging. Not yet. Deciding not to. Thinking about swinging with the Sakazuki, remember it does have a 3,000 power boost because of the Houndblaze, so it's effectively an 8K leader during the Sakazuki's turn. And so with 9 Dawn left, not too many options, I think, but could interestingly see a 1 Dawn commit with this Great Eruption here, picking up another Houndblaze. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine another Houndblaze coming down right now? Just getting rid of all the dudes. I think Houndblaze has been committed, though, to a body, so I think if you did play second Houndblaze, and I think that's really what he's considering right now. So I guess you get to choose after you pick up the card. Interesting. I thought it was do the cost thing and then do one, but looks like a second Houndblaze is coming down, plus 6,000, going to be an 11K swing, at the Sabo, you can't block that. No. So just going to be letting that one go. And Sakazuki really, again, focusing on that board control. Going to be playing an Ice Age on the Gecko Mori after putting its cost down even lower. And I think going to be deleting the Gecko Moria, getting the cost down so low from cards like Great Eruption and the Sakazuki when swinging effect. Going to be putting that Gecko Moria in range for a Rob Lucci KO. So putting 2 Hound Blazes and the Great Eruption back, 2 really, really strong cards. Going to be deleting the entire board. This is what I was talking about. I think just deleting the board in general is just so strong for these decks and such a good game plan. Sakazuki down on life, but his board state and his game plan of operations is looking way better than it did before the turn started. So picking up a Tashigi here, I do think 8 drop more Moria is in the works for this one. Going to be able to put out another pesky blocker and then also another threat on board. Just getting 3 bodies down with 8 Dawn is just a super strong play sometimes. So could honestly see something, actually I don't know. I was going to say you could see something along the lines of like using the Surus, because you would have 2 Dawn left over if you did the Moria play. So being able to use that to put something like X-Drake onto the field to KO the Borsalino without even having to attack it. So could be interesting. I don't know if it is the correct game plan, but I'm going to be looking through the deck. Sakazuki with a lot of cards in discard pile compared to a lot of other one-piece decks, I feel like, because of the raw card draw that Sakazuki can get. And I don't know if it's actually that bad of a game plan to do what I was talking about with the Surus. So you grab 7, you're swinging at what I assume is the leader, and it's going to be easy counter out of it, and then playing the Gecko Moria. So opting to try to go at a life, but now putting in a couple blockers. So this is another really interesting concept. Earlier we saw the Rosinante be active, but because the Rosinante has that effect that when a character is KO'd, you can choose the character or KO that character instead, they use that one as rested because that's effectively a blocker, either rested or active, and now you basically put down 2 blockers with that Borsalino being active. So really cool spot by the Perona, some really cool flexibility with that Gecko Moira and Rosinante game plan, and so ditching their 4th and final Hina for the next card draw. It is going to be a brand new, another Searcher, so they got 2 Searchers in hand, a Borsalino and a Gecko Moria in hand. So the Gecko Moria could do some pretty cool things for them as well. I do think Rob Lucci actually works with that. But first going to be opting for the Tashigi, looking at the top 5, grabbing a Navy, and they've got Rob Lucci, Rebecca, Borsalino, and a brand new right there. So can't grab the Tashigi that's in their hand, but they have 4 other pretty decent cards that they can grab, and opts to grab the brand new. Probably just valuing like the brand new draw in a future turn, maybe not this turn, but it could be an interesting game plan to see like one of the brand news played this turn, opting not to use the Gecko Moria, and using the rest of the Dawn to either play the character or card that they draw, like Houndblaze, right? That could be a really, really good card that they use, and I do expect them to use it. And then maybe like put down 4 Dawn for the Borsalino and use the rest to do whatever, you know, attach it wherever you want, because you can swing with the Sakazuki, the Rob Lucci, and the Borsalino. So going to be playing another brand new, getting really aggressive, finding another Houndblaze. Oh my god, they have found all 4 of their Houndblazes now in this game, but opting not to grab that Houndblaze, grabbing the 2K counter Virgo instead. I think maybe they thought that they only really needed 1 and need some counter power to block the next attack. So they've got 4 Dawn left, so they can't play Houndblaze this turn if they want to play the Borsalino, although they may play the Borsalino anyways, or decide to use the... I think they're probably going... If I had to take a guess right now, so they swung 5 at what I assume is leader, going to be countering out of it with Tashigi. They minus the Borsalino to 3. If I had to take a guess, I bet they're going to use Houndblaze this turn, and I bet they're going to get rid of the Borsalino. So, going to be swinging 6 or 5, I think the Rob Lucci is, whatever. It's going to be swinging into the Rosinante and taking that, and then Borsalino is going to be swinging at life, taking that, and going to be passing with... Did they just pass with 5 Dawn open? Why would you not at least Houndblaze? I'm not 100% sure why you wouldn't at least Houndblaze in that scenario. I mean, I would have maybe Houndblazed earlier. Maybe just try to feint a card in the hand. And so it looks like that the Perona was actually just going for game right there. And so I was kind of like flabbergasted at first, but we'll just go over the turn yet again. So going to be starting out with a swing with Moria and taking that hit, and then going to be basically attaching the rest of their Dawn, I think, to the Borsalino. Yep, going to be attaching the rest of the Dawn to the Borsalino and swinging for 15k at leader to take that win with no blockers in hand. So interesting sequence that we saw there. It did look grim at the end, thinking back on it in the board state, if we thought about Sakazuki's last turn, because because you know they only had 1 blocker available in Sakazuki and didn't really have any opportunity to get any more blockers going in that game plan, searching off the brand new for probably like 2k counters and stuff in hindsight. So really good job by the Perona in that one. Definitely controlled the board state even at the end when it got a little bit difficult, but nonetheless, Perona is moving to the championship round. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed this. And again, you can catch the official VOD in the description below. And I hope to see you in a future video. Thanks.